Goodness, hello. Thank you for joining me. My name's Harry Tangye. Harry Tangye, Tangye. I've had to spell that out for the whole of my 52 years so far. 52 in March this year. I retired from the police as an armed response officer and traffic sergeant, dual rolled in Devon and Cornwall last April. And I had a whale of time. I was a special constable for 3 years before that. So never really thought of that. 33 years in the police, sort of. Good stuff. Right. This YouTube channel is really just a natural progression. I wrote a few blogs in my WordPress, Harry Tangye, over the years, and they were very successful. And I wrote a few feelings in firearms and fatals because I dealt with firearms and fatals, armed response and traffic. Did you see what I did there? And that's gone really well. It's gone really, really well. So I just thought, well, I'm going to develop it further and do this YouTube channel, which people have found useful. Right, I'm not going to be, and I'll probably eat my words, but I'm monetizing this. And guess what? How much I've earned? I think I've got like 1,600, 1,700 followers. I've earned £4.50 so far. Woo! All right, that's the sort of money you make. So it's not for the money. If I'm honest, I would say, if you buy a book, you can actually get this on firearmsandfatals@gmail.com. If you email me, I can send you a signed copy for $9.99, or you can get it a fair bit cheaper on Amazon. Audible, paperback, and ebook. So that's the bit over. Today we're going to talk about auditing, and I didn't know what this was. And somebody said to me, what's your opinion on auditing? And I went, I don't know, what are you talking about? I thought that's a bit of a boring subject, isn't it? They went, when people go around to police stations and purposely video them to see what the reaction is of the police officers coming out of the police station is. And I'm like, oh, that. Oh, right. I didn't know it was called auditing. I've seen a couple of those things that people sent to me for my opinion. One of which was Torquay Police Station, which is where I live, and it was just winding me up, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in the future, and in as this podcast goes on. But it's just I'm going to run through it and just say, what is it? What is it achieving for the person doing it, and what does it achieve to the police officers? What's the result to the public as well? And basically, why are they doing it? And I can see the reasons. I can see why they're doing it. And I think they're probably misguided and they're just frustrated at their own boring lives personally. But let's try to keep this as balanced as we can for as long as we can, shall we? Right. And it's just, yes, there's some bad reactions for some police. All right. There's certain standards that I always had in 30 years. And I remember, and as I was on frontline and as I was having some 19-year-old yob, basically. I'm sure he would later grow up to be an upright citizen, but at that point he was nothing but a yob. And these people are in your face shouting, and you're thinking, do I want 4 hours of paperwork? That means that I get home late on my late shift, which means then I can't go to the thing I wanted to do this tomorrow morning with my family. So shall I just take some abuse? And do you know what? My rules were, nah, I didn't ever join this police force to be insulted and abused. That's not what I did. I joined the police force because I genuinely wanted to help people. I also wanted to drive fast cars and shoot guns. But apart from that, the enjoyment is quite a selfish feeling to have the satisfaction of seeing someone you've helped happier, And as much as these people would like to deny it, they think it's this, we all join to be oppressive and to lock people up. And somebody said on a comment, yeah, I don't like the police, but they are necessary. How can you like someone whose first priority is to arrest somebody? It's like, oh, right. But we'll go through that, shall we? We'll go through that. First of all, what is it? So auditing is that. It's somebody is going up with a video and they're going to a police station and they're sitting outside and they're videoing every police car that goes by. All right. And it's not an offence, but it's something the police should check out because are they a terrorist? A terrorist, you always say there's terrorists. No, you have to check each proportionately, okay? So my view is I would come out and as I have done in the past, I'd said, hello, my friend, what are you up to today? Can I just ask? And now if their reaction was, it's my right and I'm going to be here and I don't need to tell you, then I would be thinking, okay, is there a sinister motive here? because we've got some pretty sensitive people who work in there. As far as there's people who work undercover, people who work with the armed response units, dealing with very nasty people, a lot nastier than these miscreants, right? And they don't really want their faces on YouTube if they can help it. All right. And generally, they could be having issues where they don't want to have their faces seen so they can be identified where they live. And to cause, it's bad enough having all the crap at work, let alone at home. All right. So these are the reasons why police officers don't like being videoed. And if they are being videoed, they'd like to know why. Okay. And people say, oh, I'm a journalist. Well, in the old days, it was the BBC journalist was a proper BBC, the BBC journalist. And now it tends to be anyone can call themselves a journalist, chuck something in for an online paper and they can call themselves a journalist. You know, it's not audited. You know, anyone can call them that. And unfortunately, they tend to be more the belligerent sort of people who are not there for a human conversation. They're not interested in that. It's looking, what is it trying to achieve? I'll tell you what it's trying to achieve. They've got YouTube channels and they're trying to achieve followers. So please follow my YouTube channel and subscribe. But, but I don't have to make a pain in the arse of myself by doing so with a bit of luck. I'll probably winding a few people up who've been stuck in their echo chambers and believe that the police are all horrible people. I don't know at what point they get changed from normal members of society who join the police and then become these horrible people, you know. I don't know when that happens because there's only everything stopping you from using any sort of force or words that would upset anyone at any time. So I don't quite know how that's happening nowadays, but according to some, that's how it happens because it's easy. So, you know, what they're achieving YouTube followers, they therefore then get money, but there's also adulation. Everyone likes to be flattered and thanked, don't they? They like to be, whoa, you know, good job, well done. You exposed this horrible man. How can he be in his job? He should be fired. No, he just doesn't take any nonsense from a little squit who is walking through the gates of the police station, videoing around the outside of the building where, under normal circumstances, no members of the public would go, want to go, have reason to go. But they think, no, it's not illegal. I can come here. I can come here. It could be civil trespass, but are the police going to take them to civil trespass? They have to know their names, so they'd have to look up the YouTube channel to then summons them for court. Is that a reasonable use of public taxpayers' money? No, it isn't. So personally, what I would do is they are contributing nothing to society, these people. They think they are exposing as this sort of, I don't know, this extremism of policing that is taking over our land, which they only see really in their echo chambers of social media and YouTube channels. I'm very careful of my YouTube channel. I'm very much free speech. I think hate speech has gone far too far and is being used for things that it wasn't designed for, and it needs to change. Okay, we need that freedom of speech. But we also need to be able to stop idiots who have got nothing else better to do. I'm sure some of them have got reasonable jobs, but I bet you a lot of them are still living at home with their mummies with trays of half-eaten pizza next to their computer. And I'm sure their friends and colleagues think they're very nice on the computer. But what are they contributing to society? And just because it's law, not law, because there's been no reason to have a law for it in the past, why cannot you act as a reasonable citizen, is my view. So, you know, there's an old lady who's struggling across the road, and it's a busy old road, and she's dropped her bag. It's not law that I go and help her. It's not law, you know. And if somebody, I went, ha ha, laughed at her, you know, ha ha, you know, and somebody said, that's just nasty. So what? It's not law, is it? Why should I have to? Huh? It's not down to me, you know. She shouldn't be crossing the road, you know. Is that what it's come down to? I think it's come down to as well that there's a small jump between parents telling these little oiks, you know, until they stay in their bedrooms and never seen again. But their parents have been telling them off, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that, when they're 12, 13 years old, and they get very frustrated. And then, of course, it's a natural thing. It's a natural human behaviour that if you then want freedom, I can do what I like. And then the police officer says, What are you doing? You can't do that because it affects other people. It's a public order offence. It's like a minimal public order offence. But wait, stop being an idiot. It's not law that I don't have to be stopping to be an idiot. No, but it's my citizen, my civil right as a human being to say, stop being an idiot. Do we really need laws? Be careful what you wish for, because if this became a really huge issue, which I don't think it is, it's only in their little echo chambers, and some got masses of followers. And God, isn't after the first one a bit boring? Isn't it? Really? I saw 2 of them. I was a bit angry about what I saw because I could see it from the other side. God, tedious. I'm surprised the followers come up and up. And it will anger them more and more. And they genuinely believe the police are terrible people and they should have been sacked. They probably, you know, some of them, I mean, there was one who was beeped out, so I presume that he swore. I've never sworn at a member of public, however nasty they were, because I think personally, people say it, some cops say, look, you're talking to the level of them so that they understand it. I didn't think that. I found, to be honest, the more posh I got, the more patronising it was, made me feel better and relaxed me slightly and fricking annoyed them, you know. I say, would you just quieten down a little bit? You really are being a pain right now, you know. You know, and it was just so much better, but it's not everyone's way. I can see that. That was my method. It worked for me. But a lot of people weren't born in Cornwall with a posh speaking dad and you know, was comfortable maybe with, you know, my dad always said, you know, it's you, not yo, you. And I had to speak properly and all that. And they were saying, you know, if you've got 2 people in an interview, he'd say, and one of them speaks well and the other doesn't, you know, the one who speaks well, they're going to get the job, you know. And so it was always put into me. Is it right like that should happen? Probably not. But is it human society and reaction? Yes, it is. But not so much nowadays, is it? Anyway, I digress. So, and the point I'm making as well, I think, is it's the same old thing. How much safety and freedom do you want? Because we are in a civilized society. If you think you're tough in the UK, whatever, be it sexism, racism, or whatever, every law protects you. Every citizen. So what law is there out there that is actually attacking you as a minority group or you against your freedoms? And it gets to the point where I think you're either on the side where you prefer more freedom or more security. And you'll probably find the ones who want more freedom are reveling in the safety that they've had over those years that they've not noticed. They thought the world was always like that. Okay, can you imagine a situation, for example, where one of these people thinks, well, it's not law. I can walk into your house and take it over. You've got a nice house, you've got a swimming pool, you've got a hot tub. Oh, I've never been so lucky, so I'm going to stab you in the chest, throw your body over the hedge and use your house from now on. Well, you obviously can't do that. And yet in some countries, that's still happening. Now, where do you want to live? And why? It's because there's rules. I want to drive 150 mile an hour down the motorway. Why? Because I can and I think I'm safe and I've got a car that's really safe. No, somebody's had to intervene there and say, no, you can't, because you're affecting other people. And the fact that you're auditing and you're going into police stations, or not the police stations themselves, I think a lot of the time is the outskirts, and you're just videoing. The police have to decide. They have to find out what is the level of what you are after. Are you just videoing a pretty police station? And I'm sure if you said, this is how it goes, right? I'm sure if you went, you know, excuse me, can I ask what you're doing? What are you doing here? I said, sorry, I'm just videoing the police station because I'm doing a project on policing in the 21st century or whatever like that. Is that all right? There's nothing sensitive that you'd prefer that I didn't show here at the moment or whatever? What do you think the reaction would be? No, F off. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. But when you get that, no, why? Why? What am I doing wrong? Nothing. You know, it's immediately, it's oppressive. Would you like the police officer to speak to you openly at the beginning? Once you've opened the gates, then you don't deserve any respect because you have to earn your respect. All right? So once you've opened the gates of no, why? What are you doing here? You know, why can't I do it? Police officer has to decide, because guess what? There are terrorists. There are some nasty people. There's some gang leaders who really hate the police and hate people generally, and if it intervenes with what they do. They want to intimidate people. And yeah, police officers can be intimidated. They just want to do, the great majority want to do a good work during their day and go home. And they don't want to put up with idiots coming in for their YouTube channels to say how terrible shouldn't these police officers been sacked. Yes, do you know what I would have done? I would have, and frequently did with this sort of thing, would come out and say, hi, could you tell me what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And they'd say, I'd get this abrupt. I went, okay, I got it. And the videos would come out, wouldn't it? I understand you've basically got far too much time in your hands and you're just trying to cause trouble for other people. So I'll leave you to it. I can tell you not a lot of problems to society as a whole at the moment. So just behave yourselves and there'll be no problems. Goodbye. And they'll try to contact, hey, but, no, bye, thank you, bye. Try to do something useful in your life. Good on you. Bye. That's how I would have reacted. And I think there needs to be sort of a policy, or policies are too rigid. There needs to be some advice to all police officers out there so that they are warned, because they are doing better things. They're doing more important things, They are the people that go, to go to the fatal stabbings. They go to the fatal road traffic collisions, the domestic dispute where they've dealt with some oik that they're now just speaking to right now, with the complete disrespect. They've had a complaint from somebody who is a criminal with 21 pages of criminal history, and they've made yet another complaint, and the officer's getting down a bit, and then he's come out and he's dealt with this, and they've snapped and they've said, well, just F off. No, they shouldn't, but it should be disproportionately dealt with. They shouldn't be saying F off. But if they're just, but they are going to be, it. People know it. They are going to be thinking, well, what laws have they got? Well, you look in public order. No. Terrorism Act. No. It's got proportionate. That side of it. It is tricky. And they know this. But if you want laws to cover this for auditing, by all means. But then you know what happened to race crime, to hate crime. Hate crime, in my view, was there for a very good reason. People were committing suicide because they were persecuted, and they didn't have the mental capacity to compete against that. They were very vulnerable people, and they got abused, hated, and life was a misery. And there was no laws to help them with that because it was in their homes on computers. It went too far then. Didn't it? It got to the point where it's about what you're thinking. It got to the point where if you didn't believe the very far lefty, wokey type thing that was going on, that I don't, but you wanted a middle of the road sort of sensible approach instead. If you didn't think that, then you were counselled and you were then accused of hate crime. And the police felt they had to take it up on it. So be careful what you wish for. But I genuinely think, before I close this off, I genuinely think that these people will grow up and they'll be ashamed of what they did. Because they'll realise that when they grow up and they start paying taxes, and somebody will say, I'm a businessman, I pay taxes. Well, let's see how much of a businessman, a woman that you're paying taxes. But, at the moment they think they're doing this civil duty of exposing these police officers. What are you accomplishing? Nothing. So shut up and do something useful. Contribute something to society. How about that? That'd be nice. Contribute to something to society. And I think that's probably the way around it. Because of what you think for. Thank you so much for listening to me. I am sure that some of you will disagree with me. I mean, the rules are, if you're just abusive and whatever, which, this will usually go on to some sort of link to one of these groups, and they will just blast the anti-stuff. And people who've got genuine opinions will feel worried about saying something because they don't want that attack. They don't need that. Life's hard enough as it is. I don't care. I don't mind it because I just delete it and I laugh at it. If you've got a genuinely balanced approach and you actually want to say something to me, I promise you I listen. I will listen. I will read it. And I'll see if maybe I've got something a bit wrong and that I need to adjust it slightly. But that's the way I've seen it because I've faced the public every day for 30 years, pretty much, apart from my days off. All right. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. Please subscribe. Please follow. Again, you get those Amazons, Farms and Fatals. It's gone really well. Look at the reviews on Amazons. There's loads and loads of 4.5, 4.7 out of 5 or whatever. I haven't checked recently. There's thousands of reviews there. So I'm really chuffed to bits. And see you for the next one. Thank you very much now.